What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is February 17th, 2021. Markets right now, we've got the Dow actually hitting all-time highs, I believe for the second or third session in a row now. S&P and the NASDAQ pulled back a little bit. You had the S&P down about 0.03%, NASDAQ down about 0.52%. There's a lot of speculation as to whether we're at a market top or not. I tend to generally just be kind of bearish. Maybe I'm buying into a lot of the hype that stocks and markets are overvalued, the indexes are overvalued. To me, it just seems pretty ridiculous. I mean, some of these valuations, you've got stocks that I trade, that I follow, like PayPal and Square, almost up at $300 a share. And, a lot of this, even the stock market is influenced by Bitcoin's rise. I think Bitcoin hit, 50,000, or almost 50,000, maybe like 49,000 over the weekend. The point is, you're going to have some people that are very bullish still, right? There's definitely tons of bulls out there. The markets could go even higher. I won't be surprised if they do. I won't be shocked. I'll be a little frustrated because, I'm waiting for the big day when they crash. But then you have other people that believe a crash is imminent. It's right around the corner. I just don't see how markets are not going to be able to correct. And there's even this concept about the everything bubble, right? Because it's not just the stock market. It's the cryptocurrency market. It's the collectibles market. I even watched a video about how, just anything, trading cards, Legos, like all kinds of weird stuff that people invest in. A lot of these markets are at all-time highs right now. So the monetary policy, post CV seems to really be affecting not just stocks and equities, but everything from cryptos to collectibles, action figures, the rare coins market. I mean, the everything bubble, the housing market, the everything bubble. There's some truth to that concept. Let's look at commodities really quickly. We've got crude oil at $61.71 a barrel. Right now, up about 2.76%. So we'll see. Will it be weeks or months when we see oil at $100 a barrel? And what's that going to mean? What's that going to mean for gas prices? All of this is going to be very, very relevant to Americans in particular. But we also have natural gas prices soaring. A lot of this has to do with the weather, but natural gas is up 3.39%. Let's talk about gold and silver real quick. We'll talk more about gold and silver later on in this video. But we've got gold at 1771. So gold has really come down, which is good, right? I mean, I want to see this. I want to see gold at 1,500, 1,600 if possible. Probably is not going to happen. But, a lot of people just weeks ago were saying it was impossible for gold to pull back below 1,800. Well, it has. It's now at 1,771. Today, it's down $23. Yet silver has sort of been hanging on, right? We've got silver at $27.36. It's up 0.5% today. Silver seems to be in this $27 to $29 range right now, or $27 to $28 range. I really want to see silver come down as well, because I think the premiums are very high on silver. Even in my local shops, I mean, you're going to be paying like $35, $40 for an eagle or for a round. I'd really like to see these premiums come down. I think it's possible that we'll see, $22, $24 again. And I'm waiting to buy more silver when that happens. Some of the headlines. We have U.S. retail sales beating forecasts. We're going to talk about, the retail blowout, what it really means and what it actually is. The Fed as well, some news with the Fed, unlikely to change monetary policy soon. So that means more quantitative easing, more buying up or pretending to buy up the corporate debt. They did have one of their first meetings and members expected that it would be appropriate to maintain the target range for federal funds at 0 to 1/4% in asset purchases. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. So that's it for the headlines. You also have European stocks retreating. Let's talk about what's going on in Texas. Is Texas facing a humanitarian crisis? This is an article out of Zero Hedge. And Texas right now is in a lot of trouble. Very, very bad weather. And this is affecting natural gas markets. I've seen, photos of pileups, with 20, 30, 40 cars involved in these pileups. You have over 2 million people without power. And what's really weird about this is that Texas is not the state that, we think about, when it comes to snowstorms. You don't really think of Texas and ice storms, snowstorms, heavy snowfall, but this is what's going on. And despite the cold weather, despite the freeze, the polar vortex over half of the United States, they keep shoving this climate, changing, climate warming narrative down our throats when we can see that, unless global warming brings along with it heavy snowfall, something very strange is going on here. But, you have, not 2 million, 15 million Texans remain without heat and without electricity as temperatures across the state are below freezing. And I've been talking about this for months. What happens when there's a big snowstorm in Texas? I would have predicted upstate New York because that's where I'm from. But what happens in one of these states? Could be a state where you live in, right? If it can happen in Texas, it can happen in Arizona, it can happen in Malibu. I've seen photos recently of snow in Malibu, California. Yet, I guess this is attributed to global warming somehow. What happens when the power goes off and you're stuck in a snowstorm? It's below freezing or it's below zero. Very, very dangerous situations that we're talking about here. Another article out of Zero Hedge is Texas freeze raises the cost of charging a Tesla to $900. Okay. The price of energy is going to skyrocket. It is going to become very expensive, not only to heat your homes or to turn on a stove, but also the water bills, right? Flushing a toilet, taking a shower. These are going to be, I don't want to say luxury experiences, but you're going to have a lot of money, or you're going to have a very good income to keep this up, unless maybe you're, living with several individuals, maybe families living together, people that have roommates. But the energy costs, we know living expenses in general are skyrocketing. Energy costs are one of those energy and water, I should say, are a couple of those living expenses that are going to get more and more difficult for a lot of Americans to keep up with, and paying, $900 to charge a Tesla. It really makes you wonder, is automobiles, cars, right, this sort of transportation, personal, having access to a personal automobile or personal car, is this going to be in the cards for many Americans, going forward, right? The newer generations, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y. I actually think that we're going to see in the future, we're going to see people basically pushed out of their cars. This is already happening in California. They want people reliant on public transit, public transportation. Global warming comes into that too, because they really do, they blame the consumer. They blame American drivers. And they say that, the globe is heating up because of you, right? When it's snowing in Texas and Malibu. But it's your fault that the climate is changing and the weather's getting warmer. So these Teslas, right? You guys know I don't trust Tesla or Elon Musk, especially since he works so closely with the government and he's blowing a lot of capital going to space, supposedly. I think that in the future, the automobile is going to be a symbol of elitism. I think it's going to be something that is attainable for the 1%, the 5%. Let's talk about stocks for a moment here. Stocks mix, this is out of Yahoo Finance. Dow hits record high after retail sales surge past expectations. So we had the stimulus, hype that kind of pushed the markets up the last couple of weeks. Well, now supposedly this retail sales surge has brought the Dow to even higher highs. Now the other markets, S&P, or I should say indexes, S&P, the NASDAQ pulled back a little bit. But only like 0.5%, 0.08%. What was the S&P was 0.02%. So these markets, I really wish they would come down. It would satisfy the bearish urges to go short. But I am waiting for these markets to pull back personally. But let's talk about the record retail sales. So what does that really mean here? Retail sales burst higher in January as consumers use stimulus checks to spend heavily. So as long as Americans continue to get a stimulus check, it's going to stimulate this consumer economy where we don't manufacture anything. Everything, all the jobs are really service jobs, gig jobs, right? Driving for Uber. So retail sales, also what they mean by retail is most likely a lot of online places. Yes, there's the reopening hype, right? The reopening phase. It seems like the government is lifting the restrictions a little bit or in some areas or in some key ways. But guaranteed, whatever retail sales surge that we had in January, that's not going to bring back the businesses that have already gone under since the beginning of the CV and the lockdowns. And I think a lot of these retail, when you really go and look in the details, a lot of this stuff is online, right? This is online retail surging that we're talking about. But again, it wouldn't have happened without the $600 stimulus checks, right? What a great way to start off the year. Americans get $600, right? Basically crumbs compared to what foreign governments and other, cities and states, especially Democratic ones, are getting as a bailout. But, what a way to start off the Biden administration with basically, UBI, temporary UBI, an introduction to UBI. And that is really the only thing that can push retail to the next level. I mean, it really makes you wonder, where is this all going? Is this going to be a permanent thing, right? The universal basic income, the stimulus checks, whatever you want to call them. I think so. I think we haven't seen the last of it. I do think they'll probably eventually pass some sort of stimulus agenda where people will receive $1,200 or $1,400. Hell, maybe it'll be $2,000, right? A lot of people were kind of surprised with getting $600 so quickly. The IRS has said that all stimulus checks have been sent out. Do you trust the IRS? Well, I'll have to leave it up to you. But there are people that have not received any stimulus check, right? And it's just, I've heard stories where stimulus checks were going to the wrong house. Stimulus checks going to dead people. This is the federal government that we're talking about here and all of their sort of quasi-federal agencies. Not to be trusted and definitely not to be depended on, I guess, is my main point there. Warren Buffett cut a huge stake in Apple that he had, right? Berkshire Hathaway sold a lot of their Apple shares, and they bought telecom. They bought telecom stocks, drug makers. So just kind of interesting. A lot of people do follow Warren Buffett, but, Apple seems like a lot of the hype is sort of, just not there right now for Apple. I think Apple's going to kind of tread sideways, probably in that $130 range for the foreseeable future. So yeah, going back to retail real quick, I just wanted to read that about Warren Buffett. I meant to do it before we started talking about retail. But in regards to the retail sales burst, Peter Schiff tweeted this out earlier today, actually. This was earlier today. So Peter Schiff says, with the second stimulus checks burning holes in their pockets, Americans sent January retail sales up 5.3%. All right. And that was 6.1%. Autos and gas. The result will be record trade deficits as a weak U.S. economy lacks the productive capacity to make the products consumers buy with cash the Fed prints. Essentially what he's saying is we are not manufacturing anything, and this is going to be very bad. This is going to have long-lasting effects for the economy, and maybe that's the design. Maybe it's negligence by the economists running the country, but you would think that, China is manufacturing, right? And everybody talks about China being the next global superpower. You would think that it would be important for Americans to actually have a base, right? A manufacturing base. But we don't, unfortunately, we don't. Trump says that he rebuilt that sort of, but a lot of that is just kind of like MAGA propaganda. We're going to be in a lot of trouble. The economy, I do not believe, despite the retail surge and the Dow being at all-time highs, the real economy, look around in your neighborhood. It's definitely not the same America that we all grew up in. I'll just leave it at that. We got to talk about the jobless claims, all right? I reported last week, I think it was on Friday, that the jobless claims number was 793,000. All right. Well, that was actually revised, and it's now way over 800,000. So last week's numbers got revised. And, by the way, the real number was like 830,000 or something like that. What's it going to be on Thursday? 800,000, 900,000? You guys tell me in the comment section down below. Be sure to give this video a like as well if you enjoy these news and economy updates. But we have an article from CNBC says headline is bulk of jobless claims are due to repeat pandemic layoffs, says researchers. And what we do know is these jobless claims, right? These are always new claims that we're talking about. These are brand new filers. And so, reading some of these key points here, it says nearly 2/3 of workers who started getting jobless benefits in October had also collected them earlier in the COVID crisis. According to an economist at the University of Chicago and JP Morgan Chase Institute. So, is this true, right? Or are they saying this? Are they minimizing? Just as the initial number came out, only 793,000, like just under 800,000. I think in a way that was probably manipulation. That was probably a way to, just have it seem like it wasn't quite as bad. Then they come out with the real numbers later. You just never know with these people. It could be damn near over 1 million every single week, and they're probably going to suppress that information to the best of their abilities. Repeated layoffs are playing out alongside near record long-term unemployment and a continuous spell of joblessness for at least 6 months. What we do know is, according to the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, unemployment is not 6% or 6.3%, but it's probably over 10%. So just going by that, I think this is very bad. The whole jobs market, the job situation, the employment situation in America probably hasn't been this bad in decades, if not lifetimes. In California, 96% of new unemployment claims are repeat applications from workers in accommodation and food services, right? So as we go in and out of lockdown, you see Americans that are basically, I don't know if the term would be hoodwinked or, they're basically just used as political pawns, right? And as we lock down these economies and reopen them, every time we reopen, less people are working, less people have opportunity. There's less opportunity. Every time we reopen the economy after another lockdown, there is less opportunity. And California is just a whole nother mess. I won't get into all of that right now, but, according to CNBC, they're claiming that most of the new claims for unemployment benefits are coming from repeat layoffs. But then again, they tell us that these claims are brand new jobless claims. These are people who have never filed before. So it's so hard to get to the truth. Like I said, the first number was 793,000. This is a very, very, very serious situation. We have from Fox Business, 1 hour ago, this was published, that the Fed, another thing that they talked about in one of their first meetings of this year, they talked about how the economy is slowing and that it remains a concern, right, among the Fed and among other officials, Treasury officials. The Fed is they're being kind of honest here, right? They're you sort of see the media and some of the government officials kind of hyping up the reopening and hyping up the effect that this retail sales surge is going to have, hyping up the effect that the stimulus checks are going to have. But coming from the Federal Reserve, Fed officials see economy far from where it needs to be. I mean, this is a quote, far from where it needs to be, meaning easy policy won't change anytime soon. All right, so it's going to be more quantitative easing, more stimulus injections into the markets, into the bond markets. The bond market situation, you've got a lot of market manipulation essentially, right? The Fed baits investors into going up and buying corporate debt, right? They claim they're going to buy the corporate debt, but that actually triggers a feeding frenzy and all these investors go and buy corporate debt. So the Fed kind of just has to, sit back and relax. There's a YouTuber, the Uneducated Economist, he calls it a credible threat. If the Fed just, makes a credible threat, it's enough to really move markets. And this is how they're doing it. This is what they're doing. Kind of a funny little story here, and then we're going to get into silver. We're going to talk about silver and gold for just a minute. But going back to this GameStop fiasco, which I want to say this, by the way. This other guy I watched, Jared Wesley from Live Traders, he talks about how, the news media hypes up like one or two people who made millions of dollars supposedly from the short squeeze on GameStop and some of these other stocks. But what the media is not talking about is the thousands of other people who are still to this day holding the bag because, they were told on a Reddit forum to hold the line. I'm going to go back to this and say that I think what's going on with these anonymous forums, it could be anybody on the, on the other end. It could be anybody posting. If you go and look at the research that's some of these forums these people are doing, it's of a professional quality. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are not hedge fund managers in these chat forums, themselves, trying to manipulate the markets through anonymous forums. It could be the sons and daughters of hedge fund managers. The point is that I'm still going with this whole thing was a psyop, and now they're going to have hearings. We're getting closer and closer to more regulation, and this is really how the markets are manipulated. They're manipulated through all of the needless regulation. Do you need some regulation? Yes. But pattern day trader rules, they're probably going to attempt or at least talk about implementing pattern day trading rules when it comes to stock options. Maybe we'll see, you need account minimums. Very, very dangerous, especially for people who see the market as an opportunity, see the market for maybe potentially a way to, move up the economic ladders. But we had this headline, this guy named Keith Gill is going to be defending his GameStop posts on Reddit, in front of a financial services committee on Thursday. He says he's bullish as ever on GameStop, and his screen name is Roaring Kitty. So I don't want to talk too much more about this, but they are having hearings, and I think this is just another part of the psyop. That's my opinion on it. Okay, so another article out of Zero Hedge, a silver price manipulation primer. This article talks about how silver is manipulated, between the COMEX and JP Morgan and the banks that sort of hold They're like the custodians that are holding a lot of the silver that's on the paper markets. So they go on to talk about this. And I do think people should look into the silver markets, not only for potentially, storing a piece of their wealth, but also just to learn about the market manipulation. Now, it's not just silver, okay? The truth is that all of these markets, whether we're talking about stocks, silver, Bitcoin, they're all manipulated. The whales are really in control. And so, my job trading is to try to figure out where the big institutional investors and traders are buying and selling these stocks, right? And this is how I'm trading options. I look for these very big demand zones. I try to go out into the daily and weeklies to really find, where are the institutional demand zones, where are the institutional supply zones? And I try my best to trade within those zones and to basically just ride the wave. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But the last couple of days I've been doing very well. So far this month, or I should say so far this year, it's been kind of a break-even year so far for me personally. But that is how I sort of see these markets, right? Even with the stock market right now, I don't see a lot of long-term investment opportunity just for myself. For the small amount of capital that I'm working with, I would rather trade my way up to, several thousand, several 10,000, whatever, than sort of sit back and, hope that these assets go even higher. And a lot of people, that's what they're doing right now. Now, going back to Peter Schiff, I mentioned him earlier, but he put an article out on his website, schiffgold.com, that and the title is $30 silver is quite a bargain. I said that I thought silver prices were very high right now, and I still believe that. If you could actually get silver at $27, $28, $29 an ounce, that would be one thing. But you can't. You're going to be paying $35 to $40 an ounce for silver right now. I think there are a lot of people, the herd is piling into the physical silver markets. Usually when the herd is doing something, I like to try to find something else to keep my eyes on. That's generally how I feel I've been able to not lose a lot of money. I'm not going to say it made a lot of money, but that's how I'm not losing a lot of money. I can remember when I first started trading, whether it was penny stocks or Apple or whatever, piling in when everybody else is trying to get into, and the, how do they put it? The unsophisticated investors and traders are piling in is usually a recipe to lose money. But Peter Schiff says $30 silver is quite a bargain. Well, he has to say that. He's selling silver on his website. I've actually never bought any silver from Schiff. If I was going to buy precious metals online, like physical precious metals, I don't know. I might go to Peter Schiff's site first and check out his prices. But, if you're going to buy precious metals, try to find local, try to form local relationships. That's what I'm trying to do. Local relationships where you'd be able to sell if you wanted to. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. I mean, you see all these silver bugs and gold bugs, they talk about how anti-establishment they are, and they talk about taking on the man, and, they talk about the corporate interests, big tech's interests, yet here's my JB Bullion link down below. Go and use it today. Buy a silver eagle at $40 an ounce. A little hypocritical, I think. But, the only other thing I want to mention here is I'm seeing more articles about how, someday brokers could be obsolete and that we're all going to just trade with one another on blockchain technology. Again, this the idea that your money is safe tied up on a hard drive, or they're tokenizing. It's another form of all of the tokenizing of stocks, the tokenizing of gold, the tokenizing of other tokens, right? The tokenizing of Bitcoin. This is like just different financial instruments, right? It's just more ways to manipulate, more ways to, not to say that there's not opportunity there, but I'm just generally a little bit more bearish on all of the tech, all of the cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrencies as a commodity. I mean, I'll read this here. The risks to tokenization. As appealing as this technology is, one should consider its drawbacks, right? And this is a lot of people, they just become obsessed. They think it's so futuristic, and they love the idea that, of how much technology goes behind the cryptocurrency markets. But not a lot of people consider the drawbacks. And firstly, how would you access your portfolio and execute a trade in the event of a power failure? You think people in Texas, you think Bitcoin is doing anybody any good in Texas in freezing temperatures, no power, like 15 million people without power, ice all over the road? No, Bitcoin is going to do you a damn bit of good out there. But you guys let me know. Comment in the description or in the comment section down below. What are you looking at? What is on your watch list? And what's going on in your area? What kind of jobs are you working? Let me know how you think the state of the economy really is. I'd love to hear back from you guys. Always enjoy hearing back from the viewers. Make sure to give the video a big fat like. Follow me all over social media. A big shout out to all of my contributors, all of my supporters, people on PayPal, Patreon, and the people contributing to the content by leaving the feedback. It is much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. As always, until next time, God bless.